Your heart will be weighed against a single feather. If your heart is heavier, a monster devours your soul and you cease to exist forever. If it balances perfectly, you enter paradise. That feather represents Mat, and understanding her reveals the deepest principles of ancient Egyptian civilization. Mat is simultaneously a goddess, a concept, and a cosmic principle that governed every aspect of Egyptian life, from the movements of celestial bodies to the daily decisions of farmers and kings. Unlike most deities, who represent specific domains like war, love, or the harvest, Mat represents the fundamental order that makes existence itself possible. Without Mat, the universe would collapse back into the chaos from which it emerged, making her perhaps the most essential element in Egyptian religious and philosophical thought. What makes Mat so profound is that she's not imposed from outside, but emerges from the proper relationship between all things. Mat isn't a set of arbitrary rules decreed by the gods. It's the natural harmony that arises when everything occupies its rightful place and performs its proper function. Understanding Mat requires understanding how Egyptians saw the cosmos as an intricate web of relationships where balance, reciprocity, truth, and justice weren't moral ideals, but fundamental requirements for continued existence. If you're fascinated by ancient philosophy and how Egyptians understood justice, truth, and cosmic order, subscribe to We're exploring the deepest concepts of Egyptian civilization, and your support helps us continue revealing how these ancient people developed sophisticated ethical and metaphysical systems. Hit that like button to help others discover this wisdom. As a goddess, Mat was depicted as a woman wearing an ostrich feather on her head, or sometimes simply as the feather itself. This feather became her most recognizable symbol, representing truth, lightness, and perfect balance. The ostrich feather was chosen for its symmetry, each side of the central shaft perfectly mirroring the other, making it a natural symbol of balance and order. Temple reliefs show Mat with wings spread, offering protection, or presenting the Ankh symbol of life, visually connecting order with continued existence. Mat was described as the daughter of Ra, the sun god, born when Ra created order from the primordial chaos. Some texts suggest Mat existed before creation as the principle Ra used to organize the cosmos, making her simultaneously created by Ra and the blueprint Ra followed in creating everything else. This paradox, common in Egyptian theology, reflects Mat's unique status as both a being and the fundamental pattern that governs all beings, including herself. Beyond the goddess, Mat as a concept encompassed truth, justice, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and reciprocity. The pyramid texts and wisdom literature describe Mat as the food of the gods, what they consume to sustain their divine existence. Ra was said to live on Mahat, to breathe Mat, to be nourished by Mat offered by the Pharaoh during daily temple rituals. This imagery reveals that even gods depended on Mat for their continued existence, that divine power itself required the sustenance of proper order. The opposite of Mat was Isfet, often translated as chaos, disorder, or injustice, but encompassing everything that violated proper relationships and balance. Isfet wasn't merely evil in a moral sense, but was existential threat, the constant pressure of chaos, seeking to overwhelm order and return existence to the undifferentiated void of pre-creation. Every lie told, every injustice committed, every violation of proper behavior strengthened Isfet and weakened Mawat, making ethics and morality not just rules for social harmony, but active participation in maintaining cosmic order. The pharaoh's primary responsibility was maintaining and upholding Mat throughout Egypt. Royal titles and inscriptions constantly emphasize this duty. The king was called Lord of Mat, he who establishes Mat, and he who does Mat for Ra. Every morning, as part of the daily temple ritual, the pharaoh or his priestly representative would present a small statue or symbol of Mat to Ra, literally offering order and justice to sustain the sun god for his daily journey across the sky. This wasn't mere symbolism, but was understood as genuinely necessary for cosmic function. If the pharaoh failed to maintain Mat through just rule, proper rituals, and moral behavior, the consequences would be cosmic. The Nile would fail to flood, crops would fail, enemies would invade, disease would spread, the sun itself might falter in its course. The king's justice was thus not a political nicety, but an existential requirement, linking proper governance directly to cosmic stability and agricultural fertility. Maat wasn't confined to cosmic or royal spheres, but was expected to govern every person's daily behavior. The wisdom texts, like the instructions of Tehotep and the instructions of Amit, provided detailed guidance on living according to Maat. These teachings emphasized truth in speech, fair dealing in commerce, respect for social hierarchy, generosity to the poor, restraint of anger and greed, and maintaining proper relationships with family, neighbors, and strangers. Living according to Maat meant understanding your place in the cosmic and social order and fulfilling the duties that came with that position. A farmer upheld Maat by working diligently, being honest about his harvest, paying fair wages to laborers, and treating his animals properly. A merchant upheld Maat through honest weights and measures, fair prices, and truthful representation of goods. A parent upheld Maat by properly raising and educating children. Each person's Maat contributed to the overall balance that sustained society and cosmos. The most famous appearance of Maat's feather is in the weighing of the heart ceremony described in the Book of the Dead. After death, the deceased's heart, which Egyptians believed contained the record of all their actions, thoughts, and character, would be placed on one side of the scales of justice. On the other side, a single ostrich feather, the feather of Maat, representing perfect truth and balance, would be placed as the standard against which the heart was measured. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, would carefully adjust the scales, ensuring perfect accuracy. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom and writing, stood ready with red pen and papyrus to record the result. Amit, the devourer, a composite monster with crocodile head, lion body, and hippopotamus hindquarters, crouched near the scales, ready to consume any heart that failed the test. The deceased watched anxiously as their entire moral life came down to this single measurement. The weighing wasn't measuring how much good versus bad the person had done, as if morality were a simple ledger that could be balanced by good deeds canceling bad ones. Instead, it measured whether the person had lived according to Maat, whether their heart had been shaped by truth, justice, and proper order, or whether it had been weighted down by the heaviness of lies, injustice, greed, violence, and all the manifestations of Isfet. A heart heavy with sin couldn't balance with the perfectly light feather of truth. If the heart balanced perfectly with the feather, the deceased was declared makeru, meaning true, of voice, or justified. This verdict meant the person had lived according to Maat and could enter the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise, where they would enjoy eternal life in perfected form. If the heart was heavier than the feather, Amit would immediately devour it, causing the second death, complete annihilation of the soul with no possibility of afterlife or resurrection, the ultimate existential horror for Egyptians, who built their entire culture around defeating death. Before the actual weighing, the deceased had to recite the negative confession, also called the Declaration of Innocence, addressing 42 divine judges and declaring specific sins they had not committed. The text of this confession, preserved in various versions of the Book of the Dead, provides remarkable insight into Egyptian ethics and what they considered violations of Maat. The deceased would declare things like, "I have not killed, I have not stolen, I have not told lies, I have not caused pain, I have not caused anyone to weep." But the confession went beyond obvious moral violations to include subtler ethical requirements that reveal the sophistication of Egyptian moral thought. The deceased would also declare, "I have not been rapacious, I have not made anyone suffer. I have not diminished food offerings in temples. I have not added to the weight of the balance. I have not driven cattle from their pastures. I have not cut the channels of running water." These declarations show that Maat encompassed not just interpersonal ethics, but proper treatment of animals, respect for property, honesty in commerce, and maintaining cosmic and natural order. Egyptian wisdom literature extensively discussed Maat and how to live according to its principles. The instructions of Tehotep, one of the oldest pieces of wisdom literature from any culture, advises, "If you are a man of trust, sent by one great man to another, adhere to the nature of him who sent you, give his message as he said it. Guard against reviling speech which embroils one great with another, keep to the truth, don't exceed it." The text emphasizes that speaking truth, especially when conveying messages between powerful people, upholds Maat, and prevents the chaos of misunderstanding and conflict. The instructions of Amenemope, which scholars note bears striking similarity to parts of the biblical book of Proverbs, teaches extensively about Maat in relationship to wealth, speech, and social interaction. One passage advises, "Better is poverty in the hand of the god than wealth in the storehouse. Better is bread when the heart is happy than riches with sorrow." This teaching suggests that Maat is better served by contentment and joy than by wealth accumulated through means that violate proper order or that brings anxiety rather than peace. Maat carried strong implications for social justice and treatment of the vulnerable. Two autobiographies, where deceased officials described their lives and accomplishments, often emphasized how they upheld Maat by caring for widows, orphans, and the poor. One text declares, "I gave bread to the hungry, water to the thirsty, clothes to the naked, and a ferry to him who had no boat." These weren't acts of charity in our modern sense, but were fulfillment of Maat, the proper ordering of society that required those with abundance to share with those in need. The concept that the powerful had obligations to the powerless, that justice required protecting the vulnerable from exploitation, and that society's health could be measured by how it treated its weakest members. These were revolutionary ideas in the ancient world, and showed the ethical sophistication that Maat encouraged. Officials who violated Maat by oppressing the poor, accepting bribes, or perverting justice were understood to be undermining the cosmic order itself, not just breaking social conventions. Truth, both in speech and in fundamental reality, was central to Maat. The Egyptian word for truth, Mawat, and the goddess's name were identical, showing the deep connection between truth and cosmic order. Lying was considered one of the gravest violations of Maat because it distorted reality, created false relationships, and undermined the trust and harmony necessary for social and cosmic function. The wisdom texts consistently emphasize speaking truth as essential to upholding Maat, but Egyptian truth wasn't simply factual accuracy. It was truth in a deeper sense of alignment with cosmic order and proper relationship. A statement could be factually accurate yet still violate Maat if it was intended to deceive, manipulate, or harm. Conversely, silence could sometimes uphold Maat better than speech if speaking would cause unnecessary conflict or pain. This nuanced understanding of truth recognized that Maat required wisdom in applying principles to specific situations rather than rigid adherence to absolute rules. Egyptian architecture embodied Maat through its emphasis on symmetry, balance, proportion, and harmony. Temple design followed precise geometric and symbolic patterns that reflected cosmic order. The alignment of temples with celestial phenomena, the careful proportions of columns and chambers, the balanced placement of reliefs and inscriptions all expressed Maat in physical form. Walking through an Egyptian temple was meant to be an experience of moving through ordered sacred space that reflected and reinforced cosmic harmony. Even the hieroglyphic writing system itself expressed Maat through its careful balance and aesthetic harmony. Scribes arranged hieroglyphs not just to convey meaning, but to create visually balanced and beautiful texts. The very act of writing beautifully, of creating ordered and harmonious inscriptions, was seen as upholding Maat, while sloppy or careless writing violated it. This aesthetic dimension of Maat shows how Egyptians understood beauty and order as intrinsically connected. Egyptian texts sometimes describe periods of political chaos, foreign invasion, or social upheaval as times when Maat had been overthrown and Isfet dominated. The admonitions of It Puar, a text describing a period of social collapse, laments, Maat is cast out, Isfet is in the council chamber. The plans of the gods are violated. Their provisions are ignored. These descriptions reveal that Egyptians understood Maat not as automatically self-sustaining, but as requiring constant active maintenance through proper behavior, ritual, and governance. The restoration of Maat after periods of chaos became a standard theme in royal propaganda. New dynasties would claim to have restored Maat after its overthrow by their predecessors, reformed corruption, re-established proper worship, driven out foreign influences, and returned Egypt to its rightful ordered state. Whether these claims were accurate or mere political spin, they show that Maat remained the standard by which Egyptian civilization judged itself and its rulers. Maat's emphasis on balance, truth, justice, proper relationships, and ethical behavior as necessary for cosmic and social order resonates powerfully today. the idea that individual ethical choices have cosmic significance, that lies and injustice don't just harm individuals but weaken the fabric of reality itself, that those in power have special obligations to maintain justice and truth. These concepts remain relevant to modern ethical and political thought. Matt offers an integrated worldview where personal morality, social justice, political governance, and cosmic order are all interconnected aspects of a single ethical framework. Matt teaches us that order isn't imposed through force but emerges from right relationships, that truth and justice aren't optional virtues but essential requirements for existence, that balance and harmony reflect not weakness but the highest wisdom, and that each person's actions matter not just for their own fate but for the health of the entire cosmos. The ancient Egyptians built one of history's longest-lasting civilizations on the principle that living according to Matt, upholding truth and justice in every aspect of life from the cosmic to the mundane, was both ethical imperative and practical necessity. The image of the heart balanced against the feather remains one of the most powerful symbols ever created for ethical self-examination and the hope that a life lived with integrity will be vindicated in the final accounting. This video was created by combining human research and scriptwriting with AI-assisted visual production, bringing these ancient concepts to life for modern audiences. For more Egyptian mythology, related products, and the tools we use to create this content, check the links in the description below.